right now French and Dutch, lively and late again, graced with pretty beaches and rising to palm-studded hilltops, famed for its shopping and candy guavaberry rums, beach bars and casino-lead nightlife. There are numerous aspects to Little St. Martin. It's infrequently a surprise that so many cruise ships choose to glide into the harbors of Marigot and Phillipsburg on their manner through the currents of the place. It weighs an entire host of factors to do and see for vacationers, from lofty lookout factors with sweeping views across Anguilla to lovely sands on Orient Bay. There also are possibilities to hit the jet skis and see multicolored butterflies, to sail throughout to untrodden islands and resolve the records of colonial conflicts between the Netherlands and Spanish sailors, to speak to macaws and see bearded monkeys, finishing off with a medley of tasty rums and oatmeals courtesy of the Parisian influence. Right here are the high-quality activities in St. Martin. Enjoy the perspectives from Fort Lewis in St. Martin. Even as there's no longer much left of the ancient bulwarks and towers of the French colonists who once commanded the ports and straits over Marigot Bay, it's nevertheless really worth making the trek up the winding paths that start on the Seas of Rue du Fort St. Louis to look this crumbling historical site. Considered one of the most important forts on the island, Lewis changed into as soon as the website of armed battles between the main European powers of the Caribbean, and nowadays a few rusting cannons can nevertheless be seen peppering the lookouts. But it's the panoramas that sincerely draw the crowds, sweeping out for 180 stages across Marigot Harbor and the hills above Bellevue, encompassing the deep blue ocean and even the silhouette of Anguilla Island within the distance whilst the skies are clear. Macaws and iguanas on the St.Martin Zoo in St. Martin. For exceptional advent to the colorful array of endemic species common on St. Martin and in the course of the Caribbean tropics, be sure to make a beeline for the island's zoological gardens. They can be found on the northern edge of the excellent salt pond that surrounds Phillipsburg at the Dutch half, guarded through marauding peacocks and set to the sounds of stalking ocelots and swinging inexperienced vervet monkeys. Some of the most charming creatures on the road up here include the cotton-topped tamarin, marmosets and the curious, not-so-little capybara, the sector's largest rodent. Hike to the summit of Paradis in St. Martin. Glowering down at the whitewashed homes and glowing seashores of Orient Bay, the quite French zone of Orleans and the brackish lagoons that embody Phillipsburg to the south, Images Paradis is home to certainly a number of the first-rate perspectives on the island. It's additionally the endgame of many a fantastic hike through the St. Martin backcountry. Some of the satisfactory trails to the pinnacle move through the Coretta Ravine and the banks of Pretty Desire Lake, at the same time as others range over the northeast ridges to the ghost village of Petit Fond. Don't forget the digital camera. Triumph over the ziplines of Loterie Farm in St. Martin. Built at the land of an historic plantation, Loterie Farm is now an all-round that hugs the inexperienced and quiet edges of Paradis Hill. It's forgiven glowing pools and treehouse fashion cabanas peppering its nicely manicured gardens, and gives a sequence of eateries on website, from the earthy bamboo room to the hidden woodland cafe. But most vacationers head right here to get the coronary heart-thumping and adrenaline flowing, to attempt their hand on the series of Tarzan-esque ziplines and swinging rope bridges that the folks of Loterie have mounted via the encircling jungle canopies. Simply roll up and ask for access to the correctly named fly area. Watch KLM flying on Mejo Seaside in St. Martin. So there are clearly oodles of a lot prettier beaches lining the beaches of St. Martin, each on the Dutch and French sides of the island. But humans don't flock to the sands of Maho for sun and sand, even though it needs to be stated that the solar and sand aren't at all awful here. Most come to gawp upwards into the sky whilst the enormous aircrafts of KLM and different airways start to descend. Why? Well, due to the fact the runways of the Princess Juliana Global Airport are just a few meters behind, that means the landings right here bring those Boeings and Airbuses within an arm's length from the ground, rumbling each coconut cocktail and sandcastle in sight. Pattern effective drinks at the St. Martin Guavaberry Business Enterprise in St. Martin. St. Martin's nearby take on the Caribbean's preferred liquor, that's rum, just in case all and sundry was in doubt, is a potent infusion of sugarcane and the curious little guava berries that develop like wildfire amidst the imperative hills of the island. And there's without a doubt nowhere higher for tasting this curious tipple than at the St. Martin Guavaberry Employer, wherein rack upon rack and barrel upon barrel of the Schnapp-style drink are touted with the aid of perennially smiling nearby team of workers. Assume masses of loose samples of guava berry colada and directly shooters too, so don't assume you could leave with a totally clear head. Experience the tropical beauty of Mullet Bay in St. Martin. After you're achieved gopping at the significant airliners that descend over Mejo Seaside, make sure to make a beeline for the picture-ideal reaches of Mullet Bay. Nestled in its very own little cove simply across the headland from the Princess Juliana Airport, this seaside strip has it all: scintillating sands of alabaster white, lapping Carib waves shining in a Greek blue hue, splashing rollers for the frame boarders. No matter having felt the brunt of an unfavorable hurricane within the 90s, some infrastructure does remain here, stoning up with the active little seaside bars among the swaying palms at the back of the sands. Meet the neighborhood flyers on the Butterfly Farm in St. Martin. The St. Martin outlet of the Butterfly Farm is an exquisite region to get a close-up glimpse of some of the Caribbean's maximum majestic flying creatures. The group is about over a sequence of appropriate gardens, bursting with ferns and verdant tropical flowers and punctuated with the occasional babbling water function. The butterflies assure a grand show too, with the likes of everything from mimic whites to majestic checkered swallowtails to look. Shoppers also can attend regular tutorials on butterfly pleasant gardening techniques and horticulture. Orient Bay Beach, one of the international's nice. There are masses of reasons why such a lot of tourists hail the sloping yellow-white sands and turquoise shallows of Orient Bay, going for walks in an arc of Caribbean shade across the North Jap facet of the island, as one of the top seashore locations on the globe. Shared by means of naturists and others, the strip right here is well advanced, with oodles of deck chairs and loungers on offer. Stroll the Phillipsburg Boardwalk in St. Martin. Arching its manner along the period of brilliant Bay Seaside, wherein the metropolis of Phillipsburg meets the Caribbean Sea, the metropolis's boardwalk is a lively affair. Warm canine concession stands and conch-touting holes in the wall spill out onto the paving, while the smells of Jamaican jerk waft from the limitless eateries and their palm-shaded terraces. Shopaholics can revel in a sprawling bazaar at one cease of the promenade, weighted down with arts and crafts, reggae-colored bracelets, etc. And there also are plenty of places to settle down and seize a cold one simply meters from the sand. This means that a few seriously properly human beings watching opportunities as well.